All right. Happy New Year, everybody.
You too.
Yeah.
Kate, do you want to call it to order?
Yes. Good morning, everyone. So we'll call the meeting to order. Oh, sorry. I'm just having technical difficulties this morning. I have to pull up multiple devices here.
No worries.
I'm sorry. I'm trying to get the agenda pulled up. I assume the first agenda item is to review our minutes.
Yep.
Okay. Do I need to second, Michelle, to do that, or we can just go ahead and do it and then?
Someone has to make a motion to approve them, right?
Yeah, which Kate can make the motion, someone else can second.
Okay. Has everybody had a chance to review the minutes from last week?
Yes.
Okay, I move to accept them. Anybody second? Okay. Sorry, is that my phone? I'm so sorry. You would think this far in the pandemic we'd be.
Don't worry. It's fine. If it gets loud, I can just mute. Oh, there, you muted yourself. Okay. So the next thing, in case you don't have it in front, is the energy. Do you mind muting yourself, or do you want me to mute you? I think.
Wait, you want me to mute me?
Christina, is that you? Who are you in the car?
No, I'm outside.
Oh, outside. Do you mind muting yourself?
Muting? No.
Just until you talk, because it was making noise. Thank you. All right, so energy. We're well underway with energy assistance. It's still slower than it has been in pre-COVID years, right, Cynthia? Don't you think it's still not as many as pre-COVID? But it's
not that many. I keep asking people, you have to apply, and they're just waiting around. But
right. We've had, I think it was like 33 people, households apply so far, but they have until the spring, so there's still plenty of time. So the energy assistance burn, just to let you know, I don't know if I explained it last week, it's a state-run program. We process, we accept the applications and input them, and then we send them off to an agency, CAAWC, who processes them for the Department of Social Services for the state. And it helps with, it doesn't help with all of their heating bills for the winter, but it helps with, depends, hopefully a good chunk of it. And there's no asset limit. So we've had a few seniors in particular who haven't been eligible before who've been able to apply. So that's nice. But I don't think that will continue. If hopefully next year the pandemic will be, I don't want to jinx it, but hopefully we will not be in the same position and it'll go back to normal, where there's an asset limit of $15,000 for homeowners and $12,000 for renters. So anyway, so it's going smoothly, right, Cynthia? And OpFuel started their winter season, just I think it was beginning of December, and we have $6,000 to spend. So we've started a few applications with that, but that goes until I think May sometime. And they're back to giving up to $500 once a year. Last year during the pandemic, they raised it to $750, but it's back to $500. Anything else about that, Cynthia?
No.
Really, right? Okay, our holiday programs, we had a successful year, thanks to many of you on here. We had 45 families and 44 seniors adopted, and that's all through volunteers and people donating through the community. We didn't spend any town money, which is awesome. And it's a fun time, right? In our office, Michelle and Cynthia, it's a little hectic, but it's so fun, and people are just so happy and so appreciative. The seniors, forget it, they're not expecting anything, and that's just like, you know, a surprise. And well, some of them get it every year, so it's not necessarily a surprise, but you know, it makes them really happy. And the families, quite a few of them emailed saying, thank God you guys were able to coordinate this, because we wouldn't have been able to buy presents, right, Cynthia? We had a few of them say we wouldn't have been able to do anything for our kids this winter. So, or this.
We depend on that.
Yeah, so it's awesome.
I have a quick question.
Yeah.
I'm just curious about demand and supply. So were there more people looking for families or seniors than we had, or were there excess families and seniors that weren't matched?
All of our families and seniors were matched. So we actually, we try to start earlier, you know, as you know, earlier than we used to in the past, because just to get it all coordinated, we had it all done like 2 weeks, I think, before Christmas, pretty much, or at least the week before. So it was great. So people who would call like on the later end of things, once we've already, organized it all, we would just ask them if they wanted to donate. So people would donate gift cards, because then we can use those throughout the year. So if people called towards the end of it, we would just ask them to donate like food or gas or Walmart or Target, those kind of gift cards, because we will give those to clients who need them throughout the year. So
On an ongoing basis. That makes sense.
yeah.
Ellie, were there fewer families this year than last year? For some reason, I
Slightly
had in mind-
fewer, slightly fewer. Last year, I think I put it in my quarterly report. Last year we had, I think, 49 families. This year we had 45. Last year we had 55 seniors, and this year we had 44. So it's a little bit lower, but some of our families have moved, some of our seniors have, or circumstances have changed, but roughly the same.
I thought for some reason I had in my head 60 something for seniors. I thought it was much.
No. 44 was good, but no, it was great. And then we had some high school girls volunteer to drop off to the homebound seniors, and that was fun. Actually, the girls really liked it, and they wanted to do it again next year. They asked if they could help. So, and of course, seniors like seeing younger kids more than they would like middle-aged women dropping off a gift. But anyway, so it was really good. And Thanksgiving, we gave, sorry, I should have started with Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving, we gave gift cards to all of our clients again. And person to person did give some of the families turkeys, those who wanted it. So we did 40 seniors and 49 families for grocery store gift cards. And the reason that's not the same as the holiday stuff is because some of those families, those 49 families, might have adult children, whereas our holiday programs, our Christmas adoptive family program is for school-age children. And same with the seniors. Some of our seniors might not necessarily be low income. We might just be trying to brighten their holidays. So that's why the seniors is 40 and not 45 or 44. So just in case everyone was wondering why it's a little bit different. So everyone was really appreciative. We mailed the gift cards to our families and seniors, and they were very grateful, especially since prices of food have gone up so much. So that's about it. Anything else with holidays, Cynthia?
No, that's it.
Evictions. We did have one eviction this in December. And it was really hard. It's someone that we've worked with for a long time. The house was foreclosed on, and it was a long process. I think it was about 8 years. So it was nothing to do with COVID. It was started well before that. So that was very time consuming, probably mostly because we know the individual quite well. But it worked out well because we were able to, I think I've told you guys in the past, so typically if there's an eviction, we get notified by the state marshal. It could be just a few days ahead, but ideally it's more than that. And the town is responsible to store the property that the resident, if the resident doesn't clear out the house or apartment, then the town is responsible for 15 days to store their belongings. And technically the person is supposed to pay the town in order to get them out, and that doesn't really happen. And if they don't claim it, then it goes to auction. But this marshal, luckily, he's creative, and he suggested that the bank that now owns the house and the town create a lease for $1 for the 15 days to keep the belongings in the house. This is the second time we did it. We did it once over a year ago. So rather than, and this house was packed full, we were able to keep all the stuff there, so it didn't cost the town money. Because I have no idea, it would have been truckloads. Like I have no idea how much it would have cost. I can't even imagine. So that was great. So at least with the town didn't have to spend any money on that. I mean, well, on legal fees, I'm sure, but not in terms of storage, and that's kind of a waste of money. So just the one, we have one new one that came to us last week, and we're still we're hoping that it doesn't, there's not an uptick, but we anticipate there probably will be. Avalon historically is always quick to evict. As soon as someone's late on their payment, they move right along to the lawyers. So hopefully that doesn't start to, increasing, but it might. We kind of anticipate that it will, since the moratorium was up in the summer. Anything else with that, Cynthia?
No, I mean, we've gotten a couple calls already, but nothing,
Nothing from the marsh. So people get what the first step is called like a notice to quit, which the landlord sends to the tenant. And some people who don't know it think like, oh my gosh, they said I have to be out like in 2 weeks. I'm like, no, that's not the way it works. Like it takes time. You have to go before a judge and so on and so forth. So luckily it's not a quick process for our clients and residents, but it's always awful, obviously. So we'll see. We'll just kind of wait and see what happens. If someone is really far behind, like the evictions we had over the summer, where it was like a year they hadn't paid rent or a mortgage, then it's beyond our ability to help. Whereas if it's someone like the new one that we have last week is only about a month and a half behind, so then we can pull our resources between Janet, the community fund, and our town funds and gifts and donations. We can hopefully, push that off and get them back, get their head above water, so to say. And that's about it with that. So I actually sent you guys the quarterly report because normally I send it to you like it's due like the week after our meetings, but this time it was due a little earlier. So I was able to send it to you. I don't know if you guys got a chance to review it. Or if there's any questions.
Really impressive. I've never seen one before. It's great.
Good. Well, hopefully I'll try to remember to send it. See, I think because it was due on Monday and our meetings this week, I had it ready to go, whereas normally it's due the following week and then it's kind of like after the fact if we meet 2 months later, But I'll make sure to send them to you guys in the future, even if we don't have them in our meetings. Do you guys have any questions about it?
It's just an impressive amount of work you guys do.
Thank you. Well, historically, this is always our craziest quarter because everything happens at once. It's like energy starts back to school finishes up in August usually. Then energy starts in September, Medicare starts in October, and then all the holidays. So it's always our busiest quarter.
I'm still mystified that there aren't more evictions, Allie.
I know. We are too.
Yeah, we've been like waiting.
I know. For like a year.
Mm-hmm.
I know. I'm nervous about Avalon because if they start, we have a lot of clients who live at Avalon. There's I forget how many. There's at least 30 affordable apartments there. And we even have clients who live in the non-affordable, which is not affordable. It's very expensive there now. Everywhere, but I know it's very expensive there. Yeah, if Avalon starts moving forward, it could be, I don't know. We don't know. We Cynthia and I, the clients that we speak to on a regular basis, they hopefully know not, if they're having problems, we don't want them to even get a month behind. We want to stay on top of it, and we can if they don't let it go too far. So hopefully there's not many that have let it go too far, but I'm skipping ahead, but we're hoping that maybe we can get some ARPA funds to help if necessary. And I'll get to that in a minute, what ARPA is. Yeah, so any other questions about the quarterly report? And our budget remains flat. There was no increase in our budget. I didn't ask for any, there's no changes. So that keeps things pretty simple. Did you have a question, Chris? Oh, okay.
I have kind of a newbie question.
Yeah.
Who is the audience? For whom do you write the quarterly report?
Oh, that's a good question. So for the selectmen, the board of selectmen. Okay. So we give it to them. So next Tuesday is the quarterly department head meetings with the board of selectmen. So we send it to all of them, and we send it to them a week in advance so they have time to review all of them. And then we meet with them, and then they can ask us questions. But yeah, so that's who it's for. And we have a pretty much, well, not all new, but quite a few new selectmen. So this will be our first meeting with the new crew next Tuesday. Yeah. Anything else with budget or quarterly report? No. ARPA. ARPA is the American Rescue Plan Act, and it's basically it's money from the government to help pay the municipalities to help pay for COVID-related issues. And so the town is getting roughly $6 million. I believe we have about $3 million so far. There's a new committee that was established with members from the community, the RTM, and then various departments in town. such as health, human services, emergency management, public works, obviously the selectman and town administrator. So we're just starting. We had, I think, our second or third meeting last week. So we're breaking out into little groups to figure out how we want to spend this money. It all has to be COVID related. So one of the things that I'm asking for, or will be asking for, is potentially to have some money in case the evictions and or shutoffs start to increase, and to help us, because we have a limited amount of funds. So that's one of the things that we're going to be asking for, is to have some of that money for human services to help. And hasn't been approved yet. There's a whole process and everything, but that's definitely something that has been mentioned, and we might not need it all. And apparently if say we asked for $50,000, or that's just a random number, and we didn't spend it all, apparently, according to Kate Bush, that it can be, you don't have to spend it all. You can reappropriate it, or whatever the proper word is. So we'll see. We have a next meeting on Tuesday, and we'll take it one step at a time. They're hoping to, get this all established and get the money allocated, I think by springtime, maybe April or May. Don't quote me on that, but so we shall see. Any questions?
Sorry if you just said that. When is the incremental 3 million expected?
I'm not sure, to be honest. We have 3 million now. I'm not sure. I don't
It's
know.
6 total.
What's that?
6 total, right?
6 and change, yeah. Yep.
And it has to be spent by 12/31 of 24.
Right, so we have time.
And it's interesting what you can spend it on, because you can invest it in water, sewer, and broadband infrastructure. You can provide premium pay for essential workers. You can replace lost public sector revenue, which could be things like sales tax shortfalls, which I don't think Darien has, and public health expenditures, and to address negative economic impacts caused by public health emergency, aka COVID. So it's a very interesting, the qualifications are interesting.
Right. So you have to, that someone from CCM, which is the Connecticut Conference of Municipalities, was at our last meeting explaining all the rules, and, hey, Gina.
Hi, Gina.
That, it can't just be like townwide improvements. It has to have specific, like, connection back to COVID or some kind of impact. So they even said, though, like, for instance, you could have some kind of improvements in the parks, because of the increase from COVID, parks were very busy. And so so there are ways to benefit the community from this. Well, very many ways, but anyway, so we'll see. It's all the very beginning steps.
Who reviews the proposal for how
I
you're
believe,
using it?
so John Zagrodzky, who's one of the selectmen, is the chair of the committee. And I believe once we have proposals, it then has to go to the RTM. So it's not just, it's a process. Yeah, so there's, like I said, there's multiple members from the community on there, from different, I don't know what to call it, different purviews. Any other questions? We were just talking about ARPA, Gina, which is the American Rescue Plan Act. So the towns received $3 million from the government to have improvements or COVID-related kind of improvements or projects for the town, but it has to be directly impacted by COVID. So, and also, here's one thing, it has to be, it's not from 2020, it started in 2021. So even though COVID started in 2020, if somebody hasn't paid their rent for like a month, that would not, or not a month, for like a year, it would not be eligible. I forget the exact date, but it's in 2021 that it starts, even though COVID started in spring of, or winter-ish of 2020. So we'll see. There's a lot of fine print details that we'll have to follow, but it's just the beginning stages.
The overview that Janet read was really interesting, because it is an interesting set of things that the money can be spent on. Janet, where can I find that? Or could you email it? Oh, I think
Just Google it.
Okay.
It's
Well, I can
AA.
email you something. I'll email you guys all
ARPA,
something
and
later.
you
I
can
have
also
stuff
see like where New Canaan is spending their money because they got the same size. The dollar amount the town gets is based on the population.
But I can send you something, Bern. It's on the town website, and I can see
Yeah.
what Kate and John
I'll
Skratsky
see
said.
there. I'll get it.
Okay. And any new business?
Actually, I do.
Oh,
Oh,
yeah.
no, it's not that exciting. But you know, I work with Human Services Planning Council and TY, the Thriving Youth Task Force. What we're putting together for Thriving Youth Task Force is, you know, we now have this $625,000 grant from the federal government through the CDC. It's the Drug Free Communities Grant. And that money is to be used we had to select 2 substances to inform youth of the risks of using whatever those 2 substances are. And we chose to continue the work with alcohol and also marijuana because of the recent legislation to legalize it. And in that work, we are putting together sort of, I guess I would call it a kit for some youth organizations in town, like the Depot, the work that the Youth Commission, et cetera, so that they have a kit that they can share with their constituents if they wish. And part of that kit, it's a great video by a young man in town who went to Darien High School, and he's our youth advocate. I don't know if you know Buck Allen.
Name
So
sounds familiar.
he talks about the
Yeah.
school survey results that
I know Buck Allen. He was my old neighbor. He's a good kid.
he's
Hmm.
awesome. He was our intern and kind of evolved into this position.
Yeah,
His mom owns
they've been
Modern.
involved in the, they always did the, oh, what's the name of it? They've been involved with youth for a long time. They would do like, oh, I can't remember the name. It's an organization where kids like belong. It wasn't really church related, but it was like,
Oh,
you know,
Young
you want
Life.
to, what was it called? You want to like
Young
kind of
Life.
stay on the right path, and like they supported each other, but they used to
Yes.
have these huge summer parties in their backyard, and I would think like, wow, all these kids really want to like do the right thing. It was great, but now they don't live behind me anymore. But I ran into the mom, and she told me that he was involved in this. Buck, it's great.
Yeah, it's his life's passion. So he's a delight to work with. So anyway, he's our youth advocate, and you know, we did this survey, the school survey, which showed that, you know, kids are using more marijuana, less vaping, because they're using the vaping to use the marijuana, et cetera. And those results are on our website. But what we're doing is putting this kit together for youth organizations. And part of that is we want to refer to the town website where we have all the mental health recommendations. And there's a couple of things on there. I don't know what was last updated, and maybe Human Services Planning Council can help with that. But it doesn't have the Kids in Crisis 24-hour hotline on it, the suicide prevention text line, the Trevor Project, which is helpful for the LGBTQ plus population.
Hold on,
So
I'm trying.
it's just something you might want to take a look at.
Yeah, so wait, Kids in Crisis, Suicide Prevention Text Line, and what was the third one you said?
Trevor, TREVOR, and then the Sexual Assault Crisis Line, which is different from DVCC.
You don't have the DVCC on there?
The VCC's on there. No, the list is great that's on there, but there's some other ones that may be new to the fold or just weren't put on
We'd be
there.
happy to add whatever. Yeah, absolutely.
So, and the HSBC, we're happy to work with you on that. So, you know, raise your hand. We're happy to help with that. And we can talk about that at the next HSBC meeting. The other thing is, and I don't know if you noticed this, but all of us are on there and some of our terms have expired.
Oh. Oh.
Or
You're on
maybe
the ball,
it's the
Janet.
start. Well, the thing is, I looked at it yesterday and I went, ooh, like Burns is correct. Mine looks like I expired in 2020. Is that when I came on?
Oh, you
So
can get one
anyway,
now.
I'm sorry to blow your cover.
Oh, I'm going to mute you, Christina. Sorry.
I'm sorry to blow your cover, but we should probably look at it.
Yeah. Okay, so hold on a second.
Are you looking it up?
I'm looking it up right now. Oh, that's weird. Yeah, the expiration's a 3-year term.
I don't remember when I came on. So
I don't remember what year it is, so it's,
I'm gonna talk to Linda O'Leary because she coordinates all this, and I'll ask her to take a look at it. And then what happens is, I don't know what I did, Christina. Hold on, it was making noise. And then you'd have to, like the original times that you guys were appointed, you'd have to go before the Board of Selectmen to get reappointed. But thank you for noticing that, Janet.
Well, I was just in there looking at, Emily Larkin and I were looking at it yesterday to see, are you on the same page where it has DVCC, et cetera?
Hold on a second.
So you'll see what I'm talking about if you look at that page.
Yeah, I'm
I can-
looking.
and Ally, I can go back into my paperwork. It looks odd because Gina and I think joined in the same time, but we have different expiration dates.
Okay. But a few of them are expired. So I'll just alert Linda to it and we'll take care of it. But thank you. We don't want you guys going anywhere. You need to stay
Yeah.
on. I see National Suicide Prevention Lifeline, but you're talking about a different suicide prevention?
There's a text that you can text,
Okay.
and I can get you all the info.
And-
I can get it from the HSBC folks who are much
Okay.
more current on this than I am.
Okay, great. No, we appreciate that. Absolutely. The more, the better, right? The more
And it's
information you get out
important if our residents use this as a resource, we want it to be current. So, and I hadn't looked at it in a while, and Emily and I were talking about it yesterday. So,
Probably not since last year when Jen Fallon from the Community Fund, remember when we did that postcard we sent out? And
yeah. Was that a year ago or 2 years ago?
Yes, it was a year ago. It was around the holidays.
And then once it's updated with all these great programs, how do you get the word out that it's, that it's updated and these are all the resources for the town? Do you think that people just go to the town website and look, or is there any sort of promotional or marketing or campaign that we do?
That's a good question. I don't think that we advertise it too much, but maybe it's worth, especially like maybe in this quarter when things are a little, we've come up for air, maybe it's worth putting something out there to the press, saying that we're here as a resource, and please, refer to our website for additional resources or contact us. So periodically, especially during the beginning of COVID, we were putting it out there a lot more. And Susan Schultz was great with the Darien Times, like putting out there, like, we're here, we're a resource, we can help you, and it's confidential. So we haven't done that in a while. So maybe it's worth putting it out there just to kind of remind people.
If you Google Darien, Connecticut mental health,
Yeah.
it's the first thing that pops up.
Ooh, I like that.
Mental health and crisis resources, town of Darien, and then it goes into Nuvance Health and blah, blah, all this other stuff.
Wow, that's great.
But that's if you type that in. I don't know what happens if you type in suicide or you type in eviction or whatever it is,
Right.
or domestic violence.
Yeah. No, that's great, Janet. Maybe we can have a conversation, follow up after this about your suggestions.
As I say, the suicide crisis line, that's the number that's changing, right? They're moving to a 988 number, I think sometime in 20.
Oh, right. So it's similar to 911. There's going to be a number you can call from anywhere.
That's right. Or like 211.
Yeah, it's 988, and they're going to move over the text-based support services. I think Connecticut though has its own crisis line, doesn't it, Alex? Like children in crisis.
211, you can call 211 and speak to a crisis person 24/7. But that's different than, I think the goal for the suicide one is strictly like suicide prevention, as opposed to the 211 could be for any mental health issue.
Yeah, although I thought
Or
that
other
988 was also going to be any behavioral health issue, or they would put you in touch with the, behavioral health services, that they'd
Yeah,
be able to have a
My
lineup.
understanding too, which
Yeah.
is great. And I think, and that's nationwide, I believe. So
Yep. Yeah.
similar to like a 911.
211 does a great job. They're phenomenal.
Yeah. And I think just trying to get people away from calling 911, that lack of clarity, and not having crisis response be appropriate for behavioral health, not just
Right,
bringing
having a
the
trained
police.
professional who can really help them, as opposed to someone who can help, generically across the board.
Right.
And this will help getting the word out if we're sharing this as part of our kit, to get out to more people in Darien. So stay tuned.
Great.
And we'll put a link on our website too. Sure. That was it for new business, Ally.
That's good new business. Thank you. Great. Anything else? actually, I just thought of something, new business, when we were talking about 211. It made me realize I forgot to mention, although this will probably be, I can mention it in the next meeting, but we are getting another $2,000 grant from United Way of Coastal Fairfield County. So they're going to be bringing it next week. They had given us $4,000 last year, and they're giving us another $2,000 and more masks, and 95 masks, which we've been giving particularly to our seniors, but to families too, since those are what they're recommending right now.
Is the 2,000 restricted?
Well, originally the 4,000 was supposed to be COVID related, but then when I spoke to them recently, they said, well, it really doesn't necessarily have to be COVID related. Just some kind of need. So I have to find out the actual details, because I was following it very strictly. Like if the person needed help with rent and they were not impacted by COVID, it's not like they lost their job because of COVID, then I wasn't using that money. But so we have to find out the fine details next week when they bring us the check, but I think it's a little more open. So that's good. That's about all I have.
I'll move to adjourn unless there's anything else. Anyone want a second? Okay. Okay.
All right. I'm going to stop the